All right, so where were we? About 9 years ago, I put my last entry on YouTube up, and I think we had just finished this nose piece, putting the license plate holder and all that stuff in place. So for those subscribers who think I died, I didn't. Just had a weird period in life and didn't work on this, so I'm getting back. And we're going to finish it up because I want to drive it before they take my license away, because I'm getting a little long in the tooth. I started this thing 20 years ago. You could go back and watch the first episodes up to the present, and you can see my hairline recede. So anyway, I'm going to get back to work, but in the meantime, I was out in California videotaping a friend of mine who was working on a project a lot longer than I've been working on this. He damn near 50 years. And it's a 1957 AC Aceca Coupe, which is the AC company that Carroll Shelby bought his roadsters from to put the 289s in. I started with 260s and he put the 289s in afterwards. But it's a pretty cool car. It's all finished, and I went out and videotaped that. So check that out, and then I'll film some more working on this, and we'll be back in action.
This is an AC Aceca Coupe. When it came from the factory in 1957, it had a Bristol 6-cylinder engine in it. When it came to me in 1970, it already had been converted by Vans in Berkeley to a 260 small block Ford engine. At that point, I found out after a long trip up the coast that it had issues with the suspension. Some frame tubes were damaged, and the engine was cracked. So I found a K-code IPO 289 and replaced that engine. Managed to get buy a bunch of parts from AC in England in 1990. Had them shipped over here in a big crate. Rebuilt the suspension and the shocks and the brakes. In the early 80s, I started a car business thinking that we would finish this thing real quickly and move on. And that I had that business for 20 years, and virtually nothing happened to this car. Put a couple of kids through college, but this car was just neglected and undriven. After 20 years of that business, I went to work at Phil Riley and Company in Corte Madera, a great outfit that restores a lot of pre-war classics. And that gave me enough time after work to start working on the AC. At that point, I changed out the differential into a GM center section so that I could get limited slip and the longer gears we thought it needed. And that worked out really well. It took a long time to fit that in there and make it just right. And at the same time, I stripped all the 6 coats of paint on it. I guess it was 5 coats. And did some aluminum. Don Nichols over in the East Bay came over and welded up the aluminum where it was needed. And after some prep work, the car went over to Joe Campani in Hayward, who does a lot of show car stuff, and he was nice enough to paint it for me. At that point, I took it up to Chris Plant up in Petaluma, who started in on the interior. He did the headliner, door panels. Matt Grieving in San Rafael did the glass work front and rear. I did the doors, which was a major project in itself. Franzini Brothers in San Rafael did the seats and carpeting, dashboard, did a great job with all the original materials, carpeting, etc. The Barani wire wheels I got back in the 70s off of, they said it was off of a Super America. I think it might have been a Lusso. At any rate, they seemed to, I needed the additional width for the engine. This is a K-code 289 that I got back in the 70s. I found a set of Webers from Southern California for it. They're IDFs. managed to modify the linkage here so that it's a little more direct than some of the other applications. That worked out pretty well. It's got a cell tack drive distributor, and we had this NASCAR radiator made up for it down in South Carolina. It made it fit real nicely into the car. Otherwise, it's a 271K code with a special hydraulic grind cam that duplicates the K code that is done by Elgin Cams up in Santa Rosa. And the overflow, it's a Ford overflow tank. It's fairly civilized. The firewall's all been insulated, floorboards with nuclear power plant insulation. It's terrific stuff, and I've encased it all in aluminum, which makes it look a lot like the AC Roadsters had aluminum floor boxes, where actually underneath all this is a fiberglass floor box that the Acecas had. Stuart Hall out in Benicia, who specializes in a lot of exotic cars and especially Cobras. I took it out to him because it just wasn't handling right, and he found out that I actually had 2 left front uprights on the car. So as you can imagine, the front geometry was way out of whack, and it pulled pretty badly. But he found that out. He sourced a right upright for it, and really straightened out the geometry with his excellent equipment over there, and also installed a Triumph TR6 front sway bar, which helps a coupe a lot as far as going through corners upright as it should. And overall, it's been a pretty satisfying experience. I've been real happy with the way it's turned out after all these years. I certainly had enough time to iron out all the imperfections, so I'm pretty happy with it.